Have you ever thought whether you should be playing in the lane or outside of it as a support? I can guarantee you that it's not a coincidence these two supports are in such distinct areas of their lane, and this makes a huge difference in how the lane is going to pan out. When I coach support players, I always have the impression that some of them believe supporting is almost like a bet. You blindly pick your hero and you just hope your carry doesn't suck too much so that you can support him and win. But that's very far away from the truth. Let's go back to the two replays I just showed you. As a support player, you have the power to increase the chances that you win your lane tremendously by doing very small adjustments to how you play. For instance, Lich is one of the strongest position 5 heroes in the game. In this clip, Zai is playing Lich versus an Earth Spirit. Lich, at level 1, has a super low cooldown spell that also slows down attack speed, meaning he does much more damage than Earth Spirit can do back to him. Knowing that Earth Spirit wants to pull the creeps to get more levels because, as we already established, at level 1, there's no doubt Lich is stronger, Zai plays to the strengths of his hero and makes sure Earth Spirit pays a hefty price trying to do that. A lot of players just default to the way Crystal Maiden is playing this game. This is FNG, by the way. And in this replay, he is absolutely right playing the lane the way he is. But before we even get into that, I have a 7.5k player to talk more about this. His name is Mangus, he's from Romania, like Weha, and he's coaching me live while I stream, so maybe check that out.
Alright, okay, go. You got it. Go. Nice, dude.
But let's get back to him.
Here. Now, right here, the Rubik really wants to trade because his spell hits doesn't matter what. And if Grimstroke hits his spell, all you do is apply a slow. But the Rubik will also lower damage, so it actually gets really hard to keep on trading against. The Rubik will just win the trade.
What Mangus is saying here is that this is the opposite example of what we just talked about. We have a position 5 that is weaker trading against the enemy 4. Now, one thing we have to make very clear is that it's not because you are a weaker position 5 that you have to play in the lane with your carry. Note that Grimstroke doesn't show in the lane with Sven, he hides most of the time, and he keeps playing outside of the lane to later block the large camp. Mangus explains perfectly the difference of that lane against a Rubik versus a CM against Clockwork, like in that FNG replay I just showed.
The difference is that Grimstroke versus Rubik, like of course the Rubik is stronger, but the Grimstroke would still be able to block the camp efficiently by using like 1 or 2 tangos. Here, if you try to block the camp as CM, you die.
If we are being simplistic, which for the sake of this video we kinda have to be, ask yourself 2 questions as a support 5. Can I trade well against the enemy position 4 if we are alone? We already went through Earth Spirit versus Lich and Grimstroke versus Rubik, and the answer for Clock versus CM is that CM easily dies because she's mega slow and Battery Assault deals a bazillion damage. The second question you have to ask yourself is whether you can block the enemy large camp without dying. And when those 2 answers are no, then you kinda have to play the lane. The problem some supports face when they don't really think about it is that they just take unnecessary damage. The bread and butter of lanes nowadays is securing range creeps and trading well. In that Grimstroke replay, if he just sits nearby Sven all the time, not only he will take Fade Bolt damage when his range creep is low, unnecessarily because he doesn't have to be there, he might also take Whirling Death damage because the lane is pretty small. The thing about most supports that can solo queue level 1, like, I don't know, a Monkey King support or a Clockwork support like in this example, is that they have no means of securing the range creep like a Rubik, like a Lina. And so playing in the lane protects you versus them whilst it gives them no chance of being useful. If you don't play a lot of support, you're probably confused as to why there's so much emphasis in blocking the large camp. Basically, you don't need to block the large camp when you're a 5 that can trade versus the enemy 4.
Actually, in this game, you would leave the B camp open because you are just much stronger. If the enemy pulls the B camp, all you do is just farm it. It's actually bad for them to pull the B camp. The reason he blocked it is because he's playing against the blue.
When you're not the strongest support, then contesting the pull is going to be harder, and it opens up possibilities for you to die if you go for it, thus forcing you to body block the camp when only the enemy support is gonna be there and not two heroes farming the camp. When the enemy support can eat you alive, like the Crystal Maiden one, then the only way is actually blocking the camp with a ward. That said, even in mega high MMR games, people will fuck up. Listen to what Mangus has to say about CM actually being able to pull off the small camp here.
This makes no sense. There's absolutely no excuse as a clockwork to give a CM a double stack in the small camp at minute 3. No excuse whatsoever. So this should not be happening.
Finally, to wrap things up so that you can use the concepts in this video to improve your play, you can pretty much use all of the knowledge we applied to position 4 heroes instead. For instance, while Crystal Maiden wants to play inside the lane to avoid taking a lot of damage from Clockwork, Clockwork wants to play outside of the lane because if he just sits around Mars trying to deny creeps, he will always take unnecessary Crystal Nova damage with almost no chance of getting the deny in the first place. If you are an Earth Spirit that cannot really trade against the Lich in your lane, then you have to do your best to pull a wave, get level 2, and then either lure the Lich closer to your offlaner so that you have a chance of jumping him, or rotate to another lane, probably mid, to get kills, since you already understand that spending time versus a stronger hero is probably not going to be fruitful for you. Obviously, Dota isn't this simple, and I'm not here to pretend you will watch this video and suddenly get 11,000 MMR. For instance, watch what Mangus has to say about the Earth Spirit laning if instead of Doom, another hero was there.
If the offlaner is, let's say, a Veno, right? Veno Earth Spirit is a really strong lane. So then, as the Earth Spirit, you would still look to block the enemy small camp so that you can control the lane. But then you wouldn't pull waves, you would actually just look to win the lane.
From being pretty much useless in that lane, you can become a god. The interactions between your hero and the enemy support are kinda easy to understand and predict, but the dynamics of a lane change depending on what your lane partner is and what the enemy lane partner is. Lich, instead of stacking and blocking camps, can instead get level 1 kills if his lane partner is a juggernaut. The goal of this video is to teach you how to think for yourself and try stuff out. Ask questions and then test your answers in-game as you attempt to follow your logic until you can actually understand and predict what's gonna happen before the game even started. Guys, this video wouldn't be possible without Mangus. He is a really kind and generous guy. He's been teaching me a lot about the game for free on stream, and I really urge you guys to go watch us. I think having 2 people talking at the same time is pretty fun, and in case you want to learn more about playing support, maybe check his Gamersensei profile. He has some pretty good rates.